Protocol 27 just deployed on Stellar's mainnet. Today, not in a roadmap, not targeting some future quarter, deployed. And in the 24 hours around that deployment, XLM's trading volume surged 303%. 303. You today confirmed it this morning. The third major protocol upgrade in Stellar in 2026 alone. And the market responded with one of the biggest single-day volume spikes the network has seen this year. And the price right now is sitting at approximately 19 to 20 cents, with a fear and greed index rating of 27, deep fear territory. While the network is having what is objectively its most significant fundamental year since it launched in 2014. If you only watch one XLM video, it should be this one. Not because I am going to tell you XLM is going to $1 by the end of the year, but because the gap between what is actually happening to this network in 2026, news by news, deployment by deployment, institution by institution, and what the price is doing right now is the single most important thing any XLM holder needs to understand before they make any decision about this asset. And I'm going to walk through every major news item from 2026, thread it directly into what it means 5 years from now, and let you decide whether the price makes sense. Let us start with what just happened. Protocol 27, codenamed Zipper, introduces authentication delegation for custom accounts and address. Bound Soroban smart contract address credentials. In plain language, it means Stellar can now delegate authentication to external systems, which enables social recovery, the ability for a user to recover an account through trusted contacts rather than through a private key alone, and smarter, more flexible smart contract security. This is the third protocol upgrade Stellar has. Deployed in 2026, third in 1 year. And the 303% volume surge accompanying the deployment is not noise. That is the market registering that something happened. Before we continue, if you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And if you're interested in joining my GCRIG arbitrage trading team, leave a comment on this video or send me a direct message on Telegram at XRP Hobart. Now, let's get back to the topic. What does Protocol 27 mean in 5 years? It means the barrier to institutional custody and user experience on Stellar just dropped. Social recovery removes the single biggest point of failure for non-technical users, losing a private key and losing everything with it. For an institution onboarding clients who are not crypto native, the ability to recover accounts through trusted authentication paths rather than seed phrases is not a nice to have, it's a prerequisite. The banks and payment providers that are evaluating Stellar as settlement infrastructure are evaluating it against the question of whether their clients, people who do not know what a seed phrase is, can use it safely. Protocol 27 answered part of that question, and in 5 years, when the Stellar network is processing institutional settlement volume from the DTCC integration in the RWA market has grown by another order of magnitude. The protocol infrastructure underneath all of that is the one being built right now, upgrade by upgrade, in 2026. Now step back from today and walk through the year from the beginning, because the Protocol 27 deployment is not the start of this story. It's the latest chapter in a year that has been building the case for XLM's long-term position, piece by piece. Since January, March 2026, XLM earned a digital commodity designation from US regulators. This is not the headline that most retail holders noticed when it dropped, but it's the most important regulatory development in XLM's history in the United States. A digital commodity designation means XLM is classified as a commodity, the same classification as Bitcoin and Ether, rather than as a security. That classification matters for 5 reasons, and all 5 of them compound over time. First, it removes the existential legal risk that the SEC could one day claim XLM is an unregistered security and perch sue. Enforcement action, Ripple style. Second, it opens the door for regulated commodity funds to hold XLM, pension funds, and insurance companies whose mandates allow commodities but not securities. Third, It means U.S. exchanges can list and offer XLM with a cleaner regulatory posture that compliance officers require. Fourth, it creates the legal clarity for institutional custody products to be built around XLM in the U.S. market. Fifth, and most importantly for the 5-year picture, it means that every subsequent institutional development on the Stellar network, every tokenized asset, every payment corridor, every custody integration operates in a legal environment where the underlying token status is settled law. 5 years from now, the March 2026 commodity designation will be looked at as the moment the legal foundation for XLM's long-term institutional integration was established in the United States, not celebrated loudly at the time, just filed solid underneath everything that came after it. May 15th, 2026. XLM surged 10.5% on a single day when two things happened. Simultaneously, the DTCC confirmation and MoneyGram's launch of MoneyGram USD, a MoneyGram branded stablecoin issued on Stellar and accessible to MoneyGram's 60 million users globally. 60 million? That's the population of South Korea having access to a stablecoin through a familiar money transfer brand, running on Stellar's rails, paying XLM fees on every transaction. The 10.5% price move was the market reacting to the news. The 5-year consequence is 60 million users, growing as MoneyGram's digital adoption grows, contributing to XLM's structural fee demand every time any of them transacts. Read that sentence carefully. Stellar passed Ethereum in a specific, measurable, institutionally relevant category, not in total value locked, not in TVL inflated by DeFi speculation, in non-US government debt tokenization, real securities, real institutions, real capital. That's not a speculative milestone. That's a measured market share comparison between Stellar and the second largest blockchain network in the world in a category that matters to the institutions that are building the tokenized financial system. What does passing Ethereum in non-US government debt tokenization mean in 5 years? It means that at the current trajectory, with the DTCC integration adding US Treasury tokenization on top of the existing non-US debt lead, Stellar is on a path to being the dominant network for institutional debt tokenization globally. Not the dominant smart contract platform, not the dominant DeFi network, the dominant settlement layer for institutional debt. That's a specific and enormously valuable position to hold in the financial infrastructure of 2031, July 8th, 2026. This is happening right now. Clearstream, Deutsche Börse Group's post-trade services provider, serving approximately 2,500 institutional clients with MiCA-compliant custody in Luxembourg, added XLM to its institutional crypto custody service. This is the first time a Deutsche Börse entity has provided regulated institutional custody for XLM. The 2,500 institutional clients that Clearstream serves include the banks, asset managers, and financial institutions that are building the European tokenized finance infrastructure under MiCA. Those institutions can now hold XLM through familiar regulated banking infrastructure without needing to access a crypto exchange or manage their own custody. That friction removal is enormous for institutional adoption. The difference between we would need to set up crypto custody to hold XLM and Clearstream handles it, we already use Clearstream, is the difference between a lengthy compliance review and a box already checked. What does Clearstream's XLM Custody Edition mean in 5 years? It means that the European institutional on-ramp for XLM exists through regulated infrastructure that the largest financial institutions in Europe already use for everything else. 5 years from now, the European tokenized debt market, which Stellar already leads, will have been building on a foundation where institutional custody was accessible through Clearstream from mid-2026. The institutions that built in that environment will have years of XLM-denominated settlement history. The XLM positions in their portfolios will have been custodied through the same infrastructure as their traditional securities. The boundary between this is crypto and this is our regulated financial infrastructure will have blurred, and blurred specifically in a direction that benefits Stellar. Now, 3 developments that are in progress, but that the long-term picture requires naming. Protocol 24, scheduled for 2026, introduces zero-knowledge proofs and confidential assets for private yet compliant transactions on Stellar. This is the specific technical capability that a financial institution needs before it will run its most sensitive transactions on a public ledger. A corporate treasury that wants to settle intercompany payments on Stellar can't do that if every transaction is publicly visible to its competitors. Zero-knowledge proofs allow the transaction to be verified as valid. The counterparty received what was sent, the amounts are correct, the compliance requirements are met. Without revealing the transaction details publicly, that's the privacy with compliance combination that banks have been asking for from distributed ledger networks since the concept was first proposed. Stellar is building it into the protocol level in 2026. 5 years from now, the institutional transaction volume on Stellar that wouldn't have been possible with ZK privacy, the corporate treasuries, the interbank settlements, the confidential financial operations, that volume will be flowing through a capability that was built this year. The Meridian 2026 conference is scheduled for Q3 2026. Historically, Meridian, the Stellar Development Foundation's annual flagship event, has been the venue where the most significant partnership announcements and institutional commitments have been made public. The DTCC relationship was building in the background before it was announced. The Clearstream partnership was in discussion before it was confirmed. Whatever's being built in the background right now, the conversations the SDF is having with institutions that have not yet made public announcements, those conversations will surface at Meridian 5 years from now. Looking back, Meridian 2026 will either be the conference where the DTCC level announcement came that accelerated everything, or it will be a conference where the groundwork for what came after was laid without anyone outside the room knowing it happened. And the Quantum Preparedness Plan, the SDF has announced a multi-year plan to integrate quantum-safe cryptography across the entire Stellar network. The 2026 phase introduces NIST-approved quantum-safe signatures, specifically MLDSA 44 for Soroban smart contract accounts. The 2027 phase extends this to traditional Stellar accounts, allowing every existing account to add a quantum-safe signer while keeping its original address and history intact. No migration cliff, no disruption. A smooth, layered security upgrade across the entire network over 2 years. 5 years from now, in 2031, when quantum computing has continued advancing toward the threshold where current cryptographic standards become genuinely vulnerable, the Stellar network will have been quantum safe for 4 years. 4 years of head start on every network that has not yet begun the quantum migration process. 4 years of institutional trust compounding on a foundation that was secured before the threat became urgent. June 2026 also brought 2 more developments that sit underneath the headline numbers, but matter enormously for the 5-year picture. AllUnity, a BaFin-authorized Euro stablecoin issuer, launched regulated Euro stablecoin payroll on Stellar through a partnership with Zebic. Regulated Euro payroll. Live on Stellar, meaning a company can now pay its European employees in a BaFin-regulated Euro stablecoin streamed in real time into their wallets, settling on Stellar, requiring XLM for every transaction. That is not a pilot program. The Captain Out coin analysis confirmed it is live, and BaFin authorization, Germany's Federal Financial Supervisory Authority, is one of the most rigorous regulatory approvals that a financial product can receive in Europe. AllUnity's Euro stablecoin on Stellar is MECAR compliant, bringing European banks and fintechs a regulated Euro liquidity option on a network that already leads in non-US government debt tokenization. 5 years from now, European payroll infrastructure running on Stellar, denominated in euro, requiring XLM fees. Integrated with Clearstream's custody and the DTCC's tokenized securities is the completion of a picture where Stellar is not just a payments network. It is the compliance-native financial infrastructure layer for European regulated finance. And tokenized gold, XLM, launched on Stellar in June 2026 with backing from the Stellar Development Foundation itself. Gold tokenized on Stellar with the SDF's direct backing. What does tokenized gold on Stellar mean in 5 years? It means that the range of traditional assets accessible through Stellar's infrastructure now includes the oldest store of value in human history, alongside U.S. Treasuries, AAA-rated CLOs, European government debt, and corporate bonds. An institution that wants to hold and transfer a diversified portfolio of real-world assets, equities through Ondo, bonds through Franklin, Templeton, and Wisdom Tree, gold through XLM, fiat through USDC and Euro, can do all of that on a single network. On Stellar, paying XLM fees for every transfer, every settlement, every transaction across every asset class. The breadth of what is being built is not just impressive in isolation, it's a network effect. Each asset class added makes the network more useful to every other participant. One more structural fact about XLM that the 2026 news has to be read against: the supply picture. In November 2019, the Stellar Development Foundation burned over 50 billion XLM, reducing total supply from over 100 billion to approximately 50 billion, and simultaneously removing the 1% annual inflation mechanism. XLM has had a permanently fixed supply since then. No new tokens can ever be created, no inflation diluting existing holders, every dollar of fee demand from every growing use case. The MoneyGram USD transactions, the all-unity payroll streams, the DTCC settlement operations, the Franklin Templeton Treasury redemptions. Every single one of those transactions draws from a fixed supply of approximately 30 billion circulating XLM, growing demand. Fixed supply. That is not a speculative thesis about what might happen. It's arithmetic. Now, step back from all of these individually and see them as a single picture, because I think when you hold them all together at once, the commodity designation in March, the DTCC integration in May, the MoneyGram USD launch, the Ethereum surpassing non-US debt tokenization in June, the 45% rally, the Clearstream custody edition on July 8th, Protocol 27, deploying today with a 300% volume surge, Protocol 24 with ZK privacy coming later this year, Meridian 2026 in Q3, and the Quantum Preparedness Plan building through 2027. When you hold all of that as one picture, and then you look at the price sitting at 19 cents with a fear index of 27, the question is not whether XLM is a good asset. The question is why the market has not priced any of this yet. And the answer to that question is the most useful thing I can leave you with. The market prices recognition events, not fundamentals, not infrastructure, not deployment velocity. It prices the moments when something becomes undeniable to enough people at the same time that they act simultaneously. The 45% surge in June was a recognition event. The 10.5% surge when DTCC and MGUSD both dropped at once was a recognition event. The 303% volume surge around Protocol 27 today is the early edge of a recognition event. The fundamentals being built in 2026 are not creating recognition events every day. They're building the infrastructure underneath the recognition events that will arrive when the DTCC assets go live in the first half of 2027, when Meridian produces the next major announcement. In Q3, when ZK privacy on Stellar makes the confidential institutional transactions possible that currently are not. The price at 19 cents is not telling you the story of what is happening. The deployments are, the institutions are, the protocols are. And the question for every person holding XLM right now is whether they understand the difference between what the price says and what the network says, and which one of those two things is going to determine what their XLM is worth in 5 years. Drop in the comments the one development from 2026 that you think the market is most underestimating. The one piece of news that when the market finally catches up to what it actually means, produces the move that makes everything else look like noise, because I have a view on that, and I'm curious whether it matches yours. If this video gave you the full 2026 picture in one place, rather than scattered across 50 separate news alerts, hit the like button. It's how this gets in front of the people who are holding XLM on pure thesis without having tracked the specific events that are proving the thesis right now. Subscribe if you want the analysis that connects current news to long-term consequences, rather than just reporting that something happened. And share this with whoever in your life holds XLM and hasn't been following the 2026 developments closely enough to understand what they're actually sitting on. The most important year in XLM's history is happening right now. The price hasn't figured that out yet. Have a great day. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to join my free Telegram community with the link on my channel, where I post my daily crypto experience and arbitrage opportunities you can't get anywhere else. This is XRP Hobart signing off.